St. Thomas, back over to London. So London I got to kind of give you a little bit of a high level in terms of how it's grown over, say, the last 5 years. And I'll do that with the InfoSparks graph. So I'm just going back a year here to give you some perspective. Look at the price here. Average sale price 470, average sale price 660. That's 1 year of growth in London. Back in 2013, the average price was 275 and we're at 660. Yeah.
So with the GO train starting in London, that's going to just spike even more. So, wow.
For sure. But I like this graph for trends. It really showcases, look at February, right? This is median sales price. Look at it spike in March and look at it drop and look at it spike and look at it drop and look at it drop. And now it's stabilized. Interesting, right? Don't prices always go up? Maybe year on year they will, and likely this is going to stabilize. But if you look at the new listings on market, now you notice in March, there's a lot of new listings. It dropped down to June, dropped down in July. And if I look at days on market, same thing, crept up. April, March, May, June, days on market going up, going up. And if you go back to the content we were putting out in June, we were indicating that we were changing our listing strategy and our strategies based on what was happening week by week, because we saw the spikes in inventory. A lot of agents were cocky thinking, oh, everything's selling, multiple offers, 100 over asking price. We can price it low. Well, they were caught holding the bag when their sellers didn't get what they wanted. And then they were like, well, what do you do? And they're raise the price. And then it didn't sell. They canceled listings. And it's funny because a lot of those sellers are now calling me to relist their properties because they went through a sales cycle and they got caught in that little pocket. But we are noticing, look at this, days on market up, stabilized July, August. So now we're stabilized. With the lack of inventory, you're going to be seeing this average days on market go down because there's less actual properties on the market. And the last graph I want to show you is months of supply. So if we stopped listing properties tomorrow, how long it would take before we had no properties left for sale. And you can see how January, it was at an all-time low. So 0.6, so almost 2 weeks of inventory left in the entire market, really went up to June, but it's on its trajectory down now. I also like to point people, if you want to stay in tune in the London market, you can go to L-Star as well. That's our board. And they have a section called market updates, and they give some good stats in terms of average price points, trends. If you want to get a little bit more dialed in on the areas and average price points, this shows you, look, St. Thomas average price 503. So very different than London. And also the average price in last year to this year. So St. Thomas only went up to 566 in a year. Meanwhile, if you look at, say, London North, you went from 697, 732. It balances out a little bit. I would be a little bit cautious about looking at data like this, though, because they're posting data. I'll go to the headline. Best August for St. Thomas home sales, L-Star Apartments. But what's going to happen when that spike and that blip in the market happens? And they say, well, we didn't have as good of a September as we thought because the homes that sold in July and August were in that little kind of recession, not recession, but the little dip in the marketplace. That's why data like this, good from a macroeconomic perspective, but it's 60 to 90 days old, because by the time the transactions have processed and hit the board, we know in the investment world that it's what you're actually writing today and this week that actually matters. So make sure you're super dialed in on that standpoint.